Hi guys, Olive here. Here today to talk about my most anticipated new book releases that are all due to come out in the first 3 months of 2023. One of my favorite parts of a year beginning to wind down is looking ahead to the following year and all of the amazing sounding books that are due to be released. And let me tell you, there are so many good books that are due to come out in Q1 of 2023. So many of them caught my eye, but for the purposes of making this video, I narrowed down what was a very long list into something manageable, and I want to share those books with you today. We'll start off by talking about all the books that come out in the first month of the upcoming quarter, which is January. January is always a little bit of a slower month in the publishing world. The industry as a whole is still kind of recovering from the holiday season, but they also know that some of us have gift cards burning a hole in our pocket, so they don't leave us completely high and dry. So on January 17th, there are 2 books coming out that I am very excited about. The first one is called Koala, A Natural History and Uncertain Future by Danielle Clode. This is a book all about the adorable marsupials written by an Australian biologist. I have read and seen so many books on animals over the course of my reading life, but I don't know that I've ever seen a book on koalas that is meant for grown-ups rather than kids. So I cannot wait to get my hands on this one. But the other January 17th book is called Love and Justice, a story of triumph on 2 different courts by Maya Moore Irons and Jonathan Irons. This is a memoir written by a WNBA star and her husband, and it's her story of how she took a step away from her successful basketball career in order to help overturn her now husband's wrongful conviction, and how ever since they were successful, how she has continued to fight for justice system reform. I am a massive WNBA fan, and this sounds so inspiring. And then the last January release that I wanted to highlight comes out on the final day of January, the 31st. That book is called The Fresh Prince Project, How the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air Remixed America by Chris Palmer. This is an insider look at the TV show that made Will Smith a household name and that has somehow remained culturally relevant after all of these years. I love books on movies and TV shows. I just recently made a video in which I discussed 10 of them, so I absolutely will not be missing this one. But now let's move on to February. There are 2 books coming out on the 7th that I am very excited about. The first one is another work of natural history. I kind of have a thing for those, but this one is called The Wise Hours, A Journey into the Wild and Secret World of Owls by Miriam Darlington, which I'm pretty sure is a re-release of the book that she released in the UK, which was titled Owl Sense. In this book, the author talks about her experience traveling all around Europe trying to see as many species of owls as she possibly could, while she was also having to grapple with her teenage son's illness. I think owls are fascinating, which is why I put this book on my list, although I do already own a copy of Owl Sense, so I probably will not need to buy this one. The other February 7th release is the first work of fiction on this list. It's called The Love Scribe by Amy Meyerson. This is a very sweet-sounding romance book all about a woman who writes stories that have a magical power to make people fall in love. So she starts working as a love scribe. This is obviously being released with Valentine's Day in mind. But ironically enough, there are 2 books on my list that come out on actual Valentine's Day, February 14th, but neither one of them have anything to do with love or romance. The first one is called A Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe by Mark Dawidziak. This is a biography of the American writer that has a focus on his mysterious death. And While Time Remains, a North Korean defector's search for freedom in America by Yeonmi Park. This is a new memoir from the author of In Order to Live, and in this book it seems like she's going to discuss her time living in America thus far, and some of the chilling things that she's observed that harken back to her time spent living in North Korea. Given how big of a book In Order to Live was, and considering the subject matter of this new memoir, I imagine a lot of people are going to be talking about this one. But speaking of buzzy releases, one of the 2 books coming out on February 21st that I wanted to mention in this video seems destined to be a big one. It's a novel called I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Makkai. And in this book, we follow a 40-something-year-old podcaster who returns to her elite boarding school in New England to teach a course. But while she's there, she has to confront her own dark history at the school. This one doesn't come out for months as of the time I'm filming this, and I am already seeing this book being talked about everywhere. I am pretty positive it's going to get a big marketing push, so I thought I would put this one on your radar if it wasn't there already. But the other February 21st release is nonfiction called The Curse of the Marquis de Sade, a notorious scoundrel, a mythical manuscript, and the biggest scandal in literary history by Joel Warner. This is a history book about the manuscript of the very controversial 120 Days of Sodom, but apparently it's also a larger history of the Marquis de Sade. Ever since reading and absolutely falling in love with the novel When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill, which has a character who is loosely based on the Marquis de Sade, I've wanted to learn more about him, and this one sounds positively salacious. Then the final day of February, the 28th, will bring another pair of books. Empress of the Nile, the daredevil archaeologist who saved Egypt's ancient temples from destruction by Lynn Olson, which tells the story of a French woman who led an international effort to save historical treasures from floodwaters. But also, BookTube's very own Katie from the channel Books and Things is coming out with her debut novel on the 28th called The Secrets of Hardwood Hall. In this book, we follow a widow who begins working as a governess at a remote manor house that she finds out far too late is rumored to be haunted. Given Katie's love of Victorian literature, I am sure there are going to be plenty of nods to the Brontes in here. I am so excited for Katie, and I can't wait to read this. But now we find ourselves moving into the month of March, the final month of the quarter. The first new release day, the first Tuesday of March, is March 7th, and there are a couple of books coming out on that day that I wanted to tell you about. The first one, I just couldn't resist it. It's called What a Bee Knows, exploring the thoughts, memories, and personalities of bees by Stephen Buckman. I have read a handful of books on bees in the past, but I just can't get enough. March 7th will also bring us a novel that I'm not sure I could be more excited to read. The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell is a cozy mystery book about a murder that happens on the set of a Great British Baking Show type program. This book is being called Clue meets the Great British Baking Show. It's already being turned into a limited series on Hulu. I need this in my life, and I think it's so perfect that it's coming out just in time for March Mystery Madness. Then there's just one book coming out on March 14th called Once Upon a Tome, The Misadventures of a Rare Bookseller by Oliver Darkshire. This is a memoir of a longtime employee of a famous London antiquarian bookshop, and I imagine in this book he's going to talk about all the delights and eccentricities of working there. I cannot resist a good book about books. And then finally, there are two books coming out on March 28th, which will be the final new release date of this quarter. Bird Girl, Looking to the Skies in Search of a Better Future by Maya Rose Craig is another memoir, but this one is by a young birder who is also an environmentalist and an activist. And in this book, she talks about how she and her entire family turned to nature during hard times, like in the midst of her mother's mental health crisis. I imagine this one will appeal to readers like me who really enjoyed Darren McNulty's memoir, Diary of a Young Naturalist. Then the other March 28th release and the final book on this list is another book that discusses nature. It's called Under the Henfluence, Inside the World of Backyard Chickens and the People Who Love Them by Tova Danovich. This book seems to blend natural history and memoir because I'm sure she's going to discuss chickens in this book, but also her own experience keeping chickens. This book sounds equal parts informative and adorable. So those are the books that I am most looking forward to in the first quarter of the new year. If any of these books made it onto your TBR, or if there are any 2023 releases that you are really looking forward to that I did not mention in this video, I would love to hear any or all of that down in the comment section below. All of the books that I did mention today will be linked in the description box below for your clicking convenience. If you're on a mobile device, just tap the title of this video and that will expand for you. Also in that description box, I'm going to put links to all of the anticipated releases videos I did for 2022. So if you missed any of those, or if you want to go and revisit them now that all of those books are out there in the world, those will be there for you. And at the bottom of that exact same description box, you will also see links to everywhere you can find me around the internet, like Goodreads and Instagram, the two places where I'm the most active, in case you would like to keep up with what I am reading and writing about right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.